Right, in this video we're going to look at how the League of Nations responded to problems and incidents in the 1920s. So there's 5 crises we're going to look at and 1 failed solution thing. Let's begin with Vilna. Now hopefully you remember, after World War I, old empires were broken up and new countries were made. Well, let's remind ourselves looking at my brilliant map of Europe, obviously. Germany, Poland and Lithuania. Now, Poland was created from the Austro-Hungarian Empire and other bits of land from Russia, and Lithuania was created as well. All well and good so far, right? Everyone is happy ever after? No, not quite, because some clown decides, right, Lithuania needs a capital, it should be Vilna. And there's Vilna. But the majority of people living in Vilna are Polish. So you can probably see where this is going. Poland doesn't like that. And so one day a private Polish army decides we're going to invade. And they wander up into Vilna and they take the city. Lithuanians aren't pleased with that, so who do they turn to? That's right, they turn to the League of Nations. Now this is clearly a tricky one. The Poles are obviously the aggressor, they're the ones that sent troops in, but there's some people in the League of Nations who are like, well hang on, do the Poles have a point? There are a lot of Polish people in Vilna. And so it is an awkward one. So the League asks Poland to remove their troops, but Poland refuses. So what's going to happen next? Well, the French don't want to upset Poland because they see them as an ally against Germany, France being over here of course. And so they kind of want to keep on good terms with Poland, and so they kind of think, well, maybe we should let them get away with it. The British though are like, well no, something should be done. But they don't want to send troops to Poland to help deal with this situation if no other League of Nations countries are going to get involved, in particular France. And because the French don't want to get involved because they're too worried about Germany and want to keep Poland on side, and the British don't want to get involved because they don't want to be the only country sending troops at this point. So what happens? Well, nothing. The League does nothing. And the Polish keep the city of Vilna. Now we're going to look at the issue of Upper Silesia in 1921. Now as you can see, Upper Silesia sits between Germany and Poland, and therefore has some German people living there and some Polish people living there. You already know where this is going, don't you? So, both Germany and Poland are laying claim to Upper Silesia, and it's quite a valuable spot. It's got some good industry in there, which will make whatever country that grabs it a lot of money. Fortunately, the winning powers after World War I knew that this was going to be an issue, and so they already decided that in 1921, Upper Silesia will have a plebiscite, which is what we nowadays would call a referendum, I suppose, where the people in the area will have a chance to vote on which country they want to join, Germany or Poland. Now, 700,000 people voted to join Germany, and 480,000 people voted to join Poland. So, does it go straight to Germany? No. The League does come up with another solution, and it's also quite good. They decide, right, we'll give the areas that voted for Germany to Germany, and we'll give the areas that voted for Poland to Poland. It probably looked a bit like this. That looks like a pretty fair split, right? Now the result of this is that Germany has more of the rural areas and Poland has more of the industrial areas. So everyone's happy, right? Well, it being the League, no, they're not. The Poles complain that they only had about a third of the land, as you can see there, and actually there's still 500,000 Polish people living in the German section. The Germans aren't thrilled either because actually the Polish got a lot of the industrial area, and actually that means that Germany's losing out on a lot of money. In fact, the Germans complain that they lost about 3/4 of the coal mines that they used to have before this land went to Poland. So the following year in 1922, Germany makes a formal protest to the League. And even though it's not a member of the League listens to it and go, maybe you've got a point, maybe you should have access to some of that coal. And so what they do is they say, right, for the next 3 years, you can have access to that coal at a discounted rate. So everyone's happy, right? They are until 1925 when that deal expires and tensions between these two countries get a little bit tense again. But that said, both sides agreed to it, both sides accepted it. It's messy, but it works. Welcome to the Ireland Islands, which you can see are slap bang between Sweden and Finland, and the year is 1921. You can probably see where this is going. Both Sweden and Finland lay claim to the islands and both thought that they should have it. In fact, they both even threatened to go to war over it. So needless to say, they both go to the League and say, look, we both want these islands, what are you going to do about it? Now, to the League's credit, they actually send a proper investigation team over there, they investigate, they look at both claims, and they decide, actually, Finland, you probably got the best claim to these islands, you can keep it, but you can't build forts on there that might be used in the future to attack Sweden. The Swedes and the Finns both accept this proposal, and that's the end of the Ireland Island crisis. So, job done. Welcome to the Mediterranean. It's 1923 and we've got a crisis on our hands. Now this one's a tricky one, so pay close attention. One of the boundaries that had to be decided after World War I was the boundary between Greece and Turkey up there. Now that was a really tricky one. If you remember, there was a couple of treaties with Turkey where they're kind of negotiating all this. Well, the League sends a guy called General Tellini, he's an Italian, to try and solve the situation, to investigate. And so he goes off to Greece and he's up here surveying the border between Greece and Turkey. When out of nowhere, he is ambushed and killed on the Greek side. And the Italians are furious. So the attack happens on the 27th of August. 2 days later, the Italian leader, a dictator by the name of Benito Mussolini, is demanding that the Greek government pay him compensation because he says the Greek government is to blame. He also wants to see the people who did the ambush executed for the crime. So Greeks, you're to blame, I want compensation and I want to see some executions. The problem with that is the Greeks genuinely don't know who did the ambush, and so they don't know who to execute. So you're Benito Mussolini, you haven't got your way, what do you do? Well, what would a dictator do? Obviously, they get ships and they bombard the Greek island of Corfu before capturing it. Just sending troops onto the island and capturing it. In this attack, 15 people died. Now, obviously, the Greeks aren't too pleased about that, and so they go to the League of Nations and go, you've got to sort this out. Fortunately, the council's already in session. They've been talking about something else at the time, and so they were able to respond to this really, really quickly. In fact, just 11 days after the assassination, they come to their conclusions. The League's response is to say, Mussolini, you have overstepped the mark here, you should be criticised, and they do criticise Mussolini. But then they also go on to say, although Greece, to be fair, what's going on? You should pay compensation to Italy for the death of General Tellini. However, this compensation will be kept hold of by the League until the murderers have been found, and once they've been found and properly sorted out with, then Italy can get the compensation. Now, on the face of it, Mussolini accepts this. He goes, okay, I accept that. But then he sneaks off to another group called the Conference of Ambassadors and complains to them about the ruling. Now, the Conference of Ambassadors is this very powerful group involving Britain, France, and Japan. They're kind of linked to the League of Nations, but they're not directly linked to the League of Nations. And they actually listen to Mussolini and they go, maybe Mussolini's got a point. So what they do is they persuade the League to change its ruling. Now Greece has to apologise to Italy for the assassination and also pay its compensation directly to Italy as well. In exchange, Mussolini sends his troops out of Corfu. Probably embarrassed by the whole Corfu kerfuffle, the British and the French decide, right, that can never happen again. So we need to sort out something, some sort of system to ensure that that never happens again. And so they come up with something called the Geneva Protocol. So like an idea. The idea is this: whenever two League members have a disagreement about something, they have to go to the Council. They have to go to the League of Nations and go, we need you to sort this out. They cannot use their army first, naughty Italy. So they will no longer have a situation like that again because they'll have to go to the Council. That was the idea. The British and French thought that's brilliant because it will never have a situation where, like Italy, they use their troops first to deal with something rather than going straight to the League. So this seems like a really good idea, but before it could be enacted, before they can go, yep, we're going to do this, the British have an election and a change of government, and in come the Conservatives. And the Conservatives look at this and go, hang on, this is ridiculous. What happens if in the future we need to use force and we have to go to the Council? We might not get our own way. So they realised, actually, no, the Geneva Protocol takes power away from us and gives it to the League. And that's the idea. Originally, the idea was, let's give the League more power. It'll be able to solve all disputes involving the League of Nations countries. But the Conservatives in Britain thought, well, no, actually, we'd rather have that power ourselves to be able to use our army if we need to. And so the whole Geneva Protocol gets scrapped. Right, this is the Bulgaria Incident, and it happens in 1925. And if you've been wondering, where the heck is Bulgaria for all your life? It's there. So, what happens here? Well, it's quite an interesting story. Some sources say that what actually happened was there were some Greek troops on the border between Greece and Bulgaria, and one of them had a dog. His dog got away from him, legged it over the border, and he ran off after it. Once the Bulgarian soldiers saw him entering Bulgarian territory, they opened fire on him. Needless to say, his mates opened fire on him, and before you know it, Greece has invaded Bulgaria in response to this incident. So what do the Bulgarians do? Obviously, they go to the League and they say, you've got to solve this. Now the Greeks think that they responded in a very similar way to the Italians in the Corfu crisis. There was a killing of one of their people, and so they used their troops to invade part of Bulgaria in response. So surely there should be a similar kind of scenario at the end of this, a similar conclusion. No. The League condemns the Greek actions and told them to remove their troops. Faced with the disapproval of other Western European countries, the Greeks reluctantly accept, actually, these countries are more powerful than us, we just better do what they say. And they withdraw, they walk off. But the Greeks complain that it's hypocritical. When Italy do it, they get their way, but when a smaller country like Greece do it, they get told off.